All right, we are live. I'm back. It's been a few days. We're going to jump right into it. There's a new study out basically saying that Airbnb is causing gentrification, specifically in New York area, in the New York City area. I'm going to post several links from Politico and New York Curbed. And there was a study, I think, done last year also that's included in this study from Watchdog Airbnb or something, or Inside Airbnb. They watch Airbnb specifically to see what they're doing. So this study was taken from September 2014 to September 2017. And they found out basically that the housing rent went up in some areas $300, and in places like Manhattan, it went up $700. And the issue with this is that in the NY Curb article that I'm going to post is that the majority of this is happening in predominantly Black communities. So for instance, in Stuyvesant Heights, where 75% of the Airbnb hosts are white, only 7.5% of the residents in the neighborhood are white. So you have at least that area is probably around 80% Black and 7% white, but they make up 75% of the Airbnb hosts in that area. So the median rent has increased 1.4%, bringing the rent up to $380. That's the average increase of the rent. So they're saying that through these 3 years they did the study, the potentially removed residents were 7,000 to 7,000 people and 13,500 units that were not available from this study. So some other findings in the study are that they're making the listings illegal, and that's how they receive most of their revenue. Says 2/3 of the revenue from likely illegal listings. Entire home/apartment listings accounted for 75%, which is $490 million of total Airbnb revenue, and represents 51% of total listings. So 87% of entire home reservations are illegal under New York state law, which meant that 66% of their revenue, which is $435 million, was illegal. So $380 increase in rent, which I just said, 1.4 increase in rent, and as is the median overall in the last 3 years. And they're saying that they have 4,700 private room listings. They refer to them as ghost hotels, which is basically a single part apartment unit, but they're housing them as Airbnb things. So the top 10% of hosts earned a staggering 48% of all revenue, while the bottom earned 80% last year. So I know I'm just reading off a lot of numbers, but the key point is 72% of the Black New York City neighborhoods, they are 5 times more likely to have white Airbnb hosts. So out of all the neighborhoods, the Black neighborhoods in New York, they're 5 times more likely to have white Airbnb hosts. And the rent in Manhattan has gone up $700. And in other areas, we say it's $380. Now, this is important because the connection is, Manhattan is close to Harlem. Harlem has been gentrified for several decades now. And it's pretty much at the end phase of being gentrified. We know Brooklyn is being gentrified. So we know the areas that are being gentrified across the country are predominantly Black communities. So it's just another tactic to instead of pushing people out, you're just raising the housing value market. Basically, essentially, that's what you're doing. So the loss of housing and neighborhood disruption due to Airbnb is 6 times more likely to affect Black residents based on their majority preference. The residents in these neighborhoods are 14% white and 80% Black. So I just said a couple minutes ago, 80% Black usually. So, and this is important because this is happening in areas, they say, where there's a strong tourist demand, and which give them a strong economic incentive to make short-term rentals. Now, when I spoke with Samantha Helu on gentrification in East LA, in the Virgil Village area, she was saying that there was a dive bar that was famous and it was around for several decades. And basically, she had to, the owner, the store was bought, and the owner had to end up basically losing the place because they changed it to a short-term rental. She wanted to pay annually, and some in businesses you might have a slow month, you might have a good month. So that's a tactic that's used to gentrify people. So when you have short-term rentals, the turnover rate is obviously going to be higher, more than likely. So the neighborhoods where the ratio of short-term rents to long-term rents are the highest is where the data suggests that the money is to be made, but landlords haven't seized on the opportunity. Basically, they're saying that the neighborhoods at greatest risk for Airbnb are gentrification, neighborhoods that are being gentrified, because they're more vulnerable to short-term leases. So you have the art aspect, the art district, the culture class, and there's so many different areas to tackle this, not to tackle, but that gentrification is used as an attack on the Black community. Now, it's not being talked about really, and it's kind of a sleuth move, like it's a disguised move to, and that doesn't mean that this is Airbnb intentionally wanted to do this. It's just when people are not aware, or when people, are not organized enough to prevent this and fight this, these kind of things happen during the long run. So this is just a short, quick midday report. I haven't been on in a few days. If you are watching this on the YouTube channel, make sure you like and subscribe to make sure you like and follow the Facebook channel if you're watching this on YouTube. So again, the Airbnb hosts are 75% white. They're in 80% Black neighborhoods that are being gentrified, and they're making $160 million. The white Airbnb hosts are making $160 million compared to the $48 million that Black hosts makes, which is a 530% difference, according to this. So this is a big company. It's getting popular. It's growing. Yet we see the effects of gentrification in New York City that it's causing. So that's basically it. Let me know your thoughts. Do you feel what can be done? I don't know what. I don't know. There has to be some kind of definitely a big change in the housing market, how things are done. Pretty much, a lot of us are ignorant, including myself, to the rules and regulations of, basically housing laws. But this needs to be gentrification should be looked at as basically genocide in a way, like soft genocide, a slow genocide. Maybe taking it to the UN and, the right to housing. Housing should be a right in this country, if, you know, at the very least. People shouldn't be displaced, or there shouldn't be scrupulous tactics used to displace people. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll leave the links for the studies, and you can go over them and look at them yourself more in depth if you want to. But I basically highlighted the key findings in this study. Okay.